Welcome to another edition of Heartland Cycling Network. Tonight I've got two special guests, Gary and Gretchen Bren, who happen to be with the Rotary Clubs of Omaha. One is Downtown Rotary and the other is the Night Rotary. So anyhow, I'd like to introduce both of them and let them talk a little bit about Rotary.
Okay. Gary, do you want to go first?
Yeah, Rotary is a service organization that get an opportunity to work locally and around the world to help make the world a better place. There's 12 clubs in the metro area, about 1,000 Rotarians, do a wide range of projects, and one of them is the project that Gretchen's working on about doing the work on the trail project.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been very instrumental. If anybody's ridden on the trail systems, you've seen these kiosks, you've seen the little mile markers. Well, that's as a result of the Rotary Club. So Gretchen, tell us a little bit about that.
That was a project that was done for Rotary Centennial in 2005. And, you know, I know it was kept up for a while, but there were over 100 miles of trails marked with mile markers every 1/10 of a mile, and then 25 of these map kiosks put up around the area. And the Rotary Clubs, you know, signed up to kind of keep them updated, keep the maps in there. But I think over time, it kind of went away. Well, last year with COVID going on, as we're bike riding around, I'm looking around and seeing these markers and thinking, you know, we should do something about this. And so I contacted the other Rotary Clubs in town and asked them, you know, can we start a survey? Let's find out how many of these mile markers are missing, how many are in good shape, what do we need to do on it? And then at the same time started trying to get some interest in getting some of the map boards refinished, because that really makes a big difference of seeing the before and afters. When you see the picture of what the boards looked like in 2005, very light finish, great looking boards. But over time, nobody's done really anything to them, and they've really become quite weathered. So last year, a couple people started off with the Millard Rotary Club and started refinishing some of the boards. So we've kind of taken it from there. They did a little trial and error, and we're starting to try to get more clubs hooked up to try to get these redone and looking better.
Well, that's great. And I noticed some of those that have been refinished, and I know there's a lot more. Like you said, I didn't realize there were 25 of those kiosks around the Omaha metro area. I mean, they're in Bellevue, they're in Papillion, they're in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, pretty much most of the trail systems that if you go on the trail map that the Parks Commission puts out, you'll see mile markers on some trails. And those are the ones that will have a trail header someplace that will have a map kiosk somewhere in there.
Yeah, and I know that some of the kiosks, I know like the one up in Democracy Park, I was up there yesterday, and the map box is gone, and that tends to happen. But there's other kiosks where, you know, I know some clubs like the Bellevue Bicycle Club has put some boxes up, and they're actually stuffing maps in them on a pretty routine basis. So I mean, it's very helpful. I don't know, has there been some clubs that have actually maintained the maps as well, or not really?
Not that I've heard of, you know, and I tried to get all the clubs to let me know the information, and pretty much there are just a few of us around that remember the original project. Well, I wasn't quite around there with the original, but I was in some of the last groups that were maintaining things, and I know even at the field club boards, I was putting new map boxes out there, maintaining those. So, you know, there's been some here and there, but not a lot, not nearly as much as there should be.
Yeah, I know I work with Eric Williams with the NRD, Papio NRD, to get maps and help, you know, some of the local stores, they distribute maps, as well as, like I said, the Bellevue Bicycle Club has taken on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think about 8 or 9 of the kiosks that they actually will maintain and put maps in. And I know this year alone, probably close to 2,000 maps have been distributed. The NRD is actually running out of maps. So, and they say that's actually a good thing because they want to reprint.
Yeah, you know, it's been around a while, but you know, I'm really happy with the map that they've done because they do give Rotary credit for putting those mile markers on. So One of the things I'm looking at this year is we're finishing up the inventory of the markers that we have out there. We're about 60% of the markers that are out there, over the 1,000 markers that are there, of knowing what the status is seeing if we can't get some funding to redo those markers or put in more markers along the trail system.
Okay.
So it's really going to be interesting to hear some opinions on how useful those markers are, because when they were put in 2005, we didn't have our cell phones that let everybody know where they were.
How would somebody actually get in touch with you then in that regard?
They can definitely contact me through any of the Rotary clubs, contact their local Rotary clubs. We're District 5650, if you look that up, or Omaha Night Rotary, or any of the Omaha Rotary clubs.
Omaha,
they all know
Downtown, Millard, Suburban, some of the old, the clubs
West,
that have been
Northwest, all of those are participating, including the Council Bluffs clubs. Let's not forget them. They have a bunch of mile markers over there too.
So I mean, if there's some people that are out riding and they actually happen to see a missing marker, that would be something that you maybe want to know about?
Well, there's too many of those. I'm trying to get a systematic view of what those are being done. So I actually have a spreadsheet that the clubs are using to take pictures or find out where they are, and they're doing a couple miles at a time. So we'll get the last ones done through here.
Okay, so you're handling that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, I know that I've been riding with Gary from time to time, and he's got a special ride that's coming up later on this year. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, Rotary's signature international project is the eradication of polio. And people in the United States think, polio, what's that? Polio was eradicated in the United States in 1978. But when Rotary got involved in 1985, it was still endemic in 125 countries, and there were about 400,000 cases a year. And as of this year, so far there have only been 2 cases globally. There are only 2 countries where it's endemic, and the goal is to see the last case of polio in 2023 and have the world certified polio-free in 2026.
Wow.
And that'll only be the second time in human history when a disease has been eradicated. And Rotary has been really, and the public health officials around the world will tell you that Rotary was the key factor in making that happen. And so there's a ride called the Tour de Tucson in Tucson every year.
Okay.
And a Rotary district down there has organized the ride to eradicate polio. And so people can go down and ride that ride and do fundraising. I'm organizing a team from Nebraska and Iowa and South Dakota to go down there. And then we're also going to be organizing local riders to ride on the same day that we're riding. We're actually going to have our ride live streamed, so you'll be able to follow us through the ride. I'm going to be riding the 102-mile ride. We will have some people riding the 57 and some riding the 25. But we're trying to raise $50,000 for polio eradication.
So you're taking a team down there, and the team consists of how many people?
Right now I've got about 7. It looks like we might have 12 to 14.
Okay. And is each one of those individuals then responsible for, let's say, raising some support?
Yep.
Okay. So you're actually raising some support. It's not just, you and, your wallet, so to speak, providing the funds. You're actually asking other people to say, I'll pay you 2 cents a mile or whatever it is.
If I had any second thoughts about this, I haven't really started officially fundraising yet, but I've got $6,000 in sponsorships.
Oh.
So there's really no backing out now at this point.
Okay. And you're
Not that I would have anyway.
You're doing the 100 miles.
Yes.
Okay. How long do you expect that to last? How long does it expect you to ride the 100 miles?
Well, if you'd asked me that question in April, it'd be a different answer than it is today.
Okay.
I'm guessing the ride time will be probably 6.5 to 7 hours at this point. And maybe 45 minutes off the bike. The big thing I've got to be training for is there's 2 fairly significant climbs in the ride. So there's about 3,000 feet of climbs total, 2 that are about 800 to 1,000 feet each. But the last 23 miles are all downhill, so that's a good thing. So.
Well, that's always good. But when you say climbs, sometimes they're long, gentle climbs, and sometimes they're steep climbs. What is the grade? The maximum grade?
It's not too bad, but there's a couple spots where the grades are 4 and 5%.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but the overall climb, it's like the last one that's about 1,000 feet. You do that over about 8 or 9 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, but it's constant.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the thing, is that when it's constant, it's a lot of work. But I know when you've got those steep grades of 5%, people don't think of 5% grade, well, that's nothing. Well, on a bike, yes, it is, unless you're riding an e-bike, and you're not riding an e-bike. I know that.
Well, I've got a ride that I want to drag you along on. It's about 90 miles and about 4,000 feet of climbs. I figure if we can do that.
Oh, okay. I'm game.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
game for that.
Cool.
Okay. So, anyhow, with your involvement in Rotary, I mean, you're in the downtown club, okay, and you're in the nightclub.
Yeah.
Okay. There's obviously some differences there. The downtown club, I think, is the longest running club
Yeah,
in
it's the
Omaha.
longest running club in Omaha. It was founded in well, actually, the charter was signed originally in 1911, but it wasn't official until 1912.
Okay.
So they're celebrating their 110th anniversary this year.
Okay. How many members are in that club?
About 139, I think it is.
Okay. Just approximately 139.
roughly, yeah.
Okay. And where do you meet?
Meet at Field Club on Wednesdays at noon.
Okay.
And then Gretchen's club meets.
So I used to belong for the downtown club,
Okay.
but for me it was hard to get out for lunch meetings. I didn't want to take that time out during the day. So
Right.
there's one club that meets at night, and
Right.
that's the Omaha Nightclub. We meet Tuesdays at 5:30 at Vincenzo's.
Oh, okay.
So it's really great to come back home after a day of work, on my way home, stop off for a Rotary meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different club. We are a very small club. We are the smallest in the Omaha area with 16 members.
Okay.
But the thing I love about a small club is we can move quickly on things.
Okay. In fact, I think I know one of the members, if he's in the picture that you had, Dave Meyer. I happen to know Dave. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so I saw that and I says, I come to remember, I think he was part of the nightclub.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
not that he tried to get me involved in the nightclub. I had been a member of Rotary years ago and was part of the South Club, and that actually closed down. I think it's reconstituted now.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
They're going to be reopening the South Club here in the next few months, and they've got, I think, 25 or 30 charter members already lined up.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the kiosk a little bit. You say that, you're getting your clubs involved in that, and this is really all volunteer, right?
Absolutely. This, nobody's getting paid for it or anything else, and we're kind of contributing our own supplies for getting
Okay, I was
it
going to say,
done.
how are you getting supplies?
Yeah.
Is somebody actually pitching in on that a little bit, or you haven't asked?
It's kind of what people have around. It's some sandpaper is the big part of it. We found out that the sandpaper with the sponges is so much better than just regular sandpaper.
Okay.
Getting some stain, putting that up. I also tried to do something with the lettering at Zerinsky and found out Sharpies work really well, but it took me about 3 Sharpies to get through everything on the sign.
Oh, okay.
But we're not talking about very much to update the look of the kiosk. Probably the most expensive thing that we bought was to redo the glass that's over the front, the plexiglass.
Yeah.
We ended up using headlight cleaner.
Oh,
So the same things that you use to restore your headlight kit is the same kit we use to clean the glass on it.
yeah.
So but that can be reused on multiple signs. So nobody's really been complaining about the cost. We just all kind of chipped in, bought things, and brought it out for when we were working on it.
Yeah. I know there's maps usually behind that right now.
Yeah.
Some of the kiosks, at least I know the Twin Creek one, and I know the Bellevue Club was somewhat instrumental on that. They actually divided that plexiglass in half. So half of it is something that people can take and actually put posters and things on
Okay.
for announcements. General rides and that sort of thing. So that's kind of helpful. I don't know if that's part of the plan for some of the kiosks or not really.
I hadn't brought that up with anybody, but
great
the
idea.
back side of it, I know at the one we did at Zerinsky's completely open, and I pulled out a lot of staples from what people had already put up
I
there.
never looked at the back side of that.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting.
and I'm trying to do some more work with QR codes.
Oh, okay.
Getting some QR codes up there, because not only can you get the maps on paper, but so many of us want it on our phones,
Yeah.
so we know where we
And
are.
there is a link, and I know the Bellevue Club actually has a link to that electronic version.
Yeah.
which makes it a lot easier for somebody to work on it with a smartphone. It's not a PDF,
Right.
it's actually an interactive map.
Yeah, there's one that is a PDF and one that's an interactive
Yeah,
map.
the interactive map I found a little bit more helpful.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, those QR codes just make it so easy to be able to take a picture of that. And I'm also trying to get some people to put a where you are. Because I know when
Oh.
I first started going on
You know,
the
you are
trails,
here?
I had no idea where I was on anything.
well,
So,
I've seen some of the maps that actually say that. It says, you are here. It says, boy, these
Yeah.
are smart maps. They know exactly where I am.
Yeah.
So, and that is true, because I have run across some people when I've stopped at a kiosk and was talking with some other cyclists, and they were asking me questions because they had not been around before. So they didn't know the trails.
Yeah.
They didn't know how far things went and where they were actually located. So
I was surprised to see that there is a statistic up that they're saying that there's over 4,000 miles of trails now in the Omaha area. So I'm thinking the Tri-County area here.
it's probably a lot larger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that the Papio NRD system, the number of trails, that's around 150 or so total miles.
Yeah.
And yeah, there needs to be, let's say, a good plan for additional trails. And
Yeah.
in the Omaha area, I mean, one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine happens to be going east or west. I live in southwest Omaha, so that if I wanted to go east, it's not like I can just ride down Center Street or Pacific Street or any of the other streets to get there. I mean, some of it you're taking your life in your own hands if you're
Yeah.
riding on the road. So some forward thinking as far as putting in paths and plans for that would be very helpful. And hopefully I can get somebody from the City of Omaha Planning Department in one of our talks and talk about that in the future. So that'll be helpful. So as far as the kiosk are concerned, you say you have enough supplies, but you wouldn't turn down somebody if they wanted to give you some supplies.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean,
you
if
know,
you have, let's say, a hardware
extra
store or
stain,
somebody, yeah.
or even extra stain from a project that you've done, it takes about a little over half a gallon to do one
Are
of the
you
signs.
looking at what, some solid
So-
stains? Is that what you're looking at? Okay.
You know, you just kind of look around and see what's there. We're not looking to try to get them all matched because they will probably weather anyway. And but just trying to get that done. You know, we'll take whatever people want to contribute.
And there was like a little roof to that. Now,
Yeah.
what's,
Now the roofs have been in good shape of the ones I've looked at.
Okay.
So thank goodness for that. But
Okay.
it's just really been the wood that's taken the brunt of the
yeah,
weather.
yeah. And some of them have gotten beaten up over the years.
Matter of fact, right before our district conference for Rotary, somebody sent me pictures of what it looked like for the signs in Elmwood Park. They had been attacked by vandals, spray painted all over, you know, the gang symbols,
Yeah.
and just really looking in bad shape. So there's a constant battle for that too.
Yeah, yeah. I know. And one of the things that I do, and I'm active on, and Gary, even on our ride yesterday, I mean, I would stop and I'd take pictures, and then I'd turn those in to the various municipalities that are in charge of the trail maintenance in that area, saying, this is a problem. You're going to have to get out here to fix this. This is not something that, you know, individuals can actually handle, because, I mean, you're talking about some pretty big logs and some other things that got washed up with the flooding recently. So that's one of the things that is very helpful, to take pictures, report that to the various municipalities for the Parks Department to actually handle. And that's something that might be a little confusing for some individuals, is that they think that the Papio NRD is in control of all the trails. No, they put the trails up, okay? Then they turn over control and maintenance to the local municipality. So you have to know sort of where you're at, if it's Bellevue or Papillion or La Vista, or if it's Ralston, or if it's Omaha, you know, where the responsibility lies. The NRD does have some control over a certain segment of trail. That I did find out, but it's a very small section. So this is 144th Street Trail.
And that's going to be kind of my next problem too that I can use help with. If there's anybody out there that knows how to make those markers, that has ideas on it.
Oh, you mean those little round things?
Yeah. When the numbers I had originally showed that it cost about $500 for each mile for those markers.
Wow.
And
Is that including just the grinding and getting them set in, or what?
I don't know. That
Oh.
information's been lost as what everything was. I think it was just for the markers themselves.
Wow.
So I'm looking for other ideas. There's got to be big changes since 2005.
Yeah.
So again, I'm open to those sorts of help too.
Yeah,
This
if there's somebody that's out there that happens to be involved in signage and that sort of thing that might be able to help you, I mean, contact
Yeah.
Gretchen. I think that'd
There's
be great.
one of the, I don't know if you've noticed this, but on the trails, each trail does say the name of the trail as well as the marker, and they're all in different colors. So
Yeah.
it's not just one item, and there are two different sizes, one for the miles and one for the 1/10 of a mile.
Oh, I guess I never really paid that close attention to it. I know that they come in handy when I've actually stopped around some of the trails and reported an issue. I would say that it's between these 2 mile markers on this particular trail, and I mean that's been very helpful. Although today with some of the GPS locating, you can actually report that location fairly well. So, but I think, what was the original intent of putting those mile markers in? Do you know?
Well, in 2005, there weren't a lot of cell phones around. So the idea was that if there was an accident or a problem and you needed to call for help, call 911, you'd be able to know what trail you were on and by what mile marker, just kind of like on the interstate system.
Yeah, okay. So, excellent. So Gary, are there any other rides that are coming up, or is this the big one that you're doing in November that...
Well, I'm doing some rides along the way to get a little more training. So I'm going to do the Corporate Cycling Challenge this weekend, and then the Omaha Connect ride on the 28th, I think it is.
Later on in August.
And then I'm just looking to keep working out and keep trying to...
Any thoughts of having, let's say, a Rotary ride within the Omaha area? Yeah.
I'm thinking about there's actually World Polio Day it's like October
October 23rd.
23rd. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
I was thinking about organizing a ride on October 23rd.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
The weather can be kind of iffy, but
Yeah.
October's not too bad. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So, okay. Well, that's good. You let me know about that, and we'll get that promoted. We'll put it on the
Cool.
HCN website as well.
Okay.
So we'd like to, give you a little plug on that. So, as far as anything else, you've been involved in Rotary. How long have you been involved as Rotarians?
I've been in Rotary for 21 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I started in 2008.
Okay. Paul Harris Fellows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for those that are not Rotarians, it is actually a special recognition for supporting, basically to end polio in a lot of ways.
Well, okay, so the Rotary Foundation actually is the top ranked foundation in North America and one of the top ranked in the world. And so the Paul Harris Fellowship was established. Paul Harris was the founder of Rotary. And the Paul Harris Fellowship was established in 1956 to honor Paul Harris and to encourage people to give money to the foundation. And so that foundation does amazing things both locally and internationally.
It was kind of interesting, when I got into Rotary, one of the first events that we went to was a foundation event. And that's really when I first heard about Rotary's involvement with ending polio.
Yeah.
And it really struck a chord with me. So I have actually been on trips to India, to Nigeria, Chad, Madagascar, and even Pakistan to see what the locals are doing there, help them out. They don't need us to do the immunizations, but whatever publicity we can give them and their stories that we can tell have been a big fundraiser for getting polio remembered in other parts of the world. And that's the same thing with the bike ride and why it's so important.
It was over 60 years ago that Jonas Salk came out with the polio vaccine. Pretty much it's been eradicated within the United States.
In 1978, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like a lot of people that are growing up today, they don't even know about it. They don't even recognize it as being an issue. But yet, like you say, it is still a concern worldwide, but you're that close to ending it.
And it's in a world where somebody in Pakistan can be on a plane and be in Chicago tomorrow. It's a real problem for all of us because the vaccination rates have dropped off. So we're at that critical moment. You're right. We are that close, and we need to take it the rest of the way because the risk is that it could come back with a vengeance if we don't.
Yeah, because of so many people. I don't know if it's standard procedure for people to get the polio vaccine now. I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Part of it's
Yeah.
part of the regular vaccine.
I don't think it's actually being done routinely in the United States
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've all seen it with other viruses and how they can spread. I mean, this last year with COVID, we really had seen how rapid things can change, and that would be very similar, I would imagine, with polio if that would ever come back. Very tragic. In fact, I know some people my same age that actually suffered from polio, and I mean, at least he can get around, he can walk, but he is debilitated because of it.
Well, once you get polio, you always have polio.
Yeah.
And there are many people that get what's called Post-Polio Syndrome when they get older. And so, once you've been infected with the virus, you've got it the rest of your life.
Okay.
And even people that hadn't had symptoms may show symptoms again later in life. But I know we're not talking about polio. Gary and I
No.
can do that.
No.
If there's people who are interested in knowing more about Rotary's involvement, we'd be available to talk to people about that
Okay,
too.
well, very good. Well, we're going to wrap things up for tonight, and thank Gary and Gretchen for stopping by, and I just want to remind everybody to pedal on.